Well, good morning, everybody. Our first animation today here on Tuesday morning shows the extent of the cold front that has moved now all the way down into parts of the Gulf Coast. You can see the winds really coming offshore here, extending down almost toward the Bay of Campeche. The All Hazards weather map shows how many states from parts of the plains through the Midwest over to the Mid-Atlantic and then, of course, down into the Mid-South, South, and Southeast are under frost advisories. We've got a large area of freeze warning here that does now reach all the way down to the Gulf Coast here in Mississippi. We're expecting quite a bit of cold air this morning and again tomorrow morning. That'll be probably the farthest extent will be tomorrow morning. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. But in the Northwest, it was kind of interesting this morning. We had been watching, of course, the advisories here for air quality, but this morning there was a special weather alert that was put out for parts of Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. And going to the National Weather Service out of Spokane right here, just take a look. I like the way they worded everything. They just said big changes are coming. And this has been the pattern shift we've been talking about now for, about 10 days. And the National Weather Service is just, attempting to provide additional information on keying in on what the main hazards are going to be. I absolutely love our National Weather Service. They're some of the best in the business. So what this is going to be replacing is this. This was an animation from yesterday, just as the sun was setting, and you can see the wildfire smoke here. My biggest concern is that as the pattern shifts this Friday, the winds are going to come out of the northwest and could temporarily, before all the rain and snow comes in, push these fires toward the east or toward the south. So it's just a thing I'm quite concerned about, but the smoke here from the wildfires is still quite extent as of yesterday. Now, the other neat thing from yesterday was around the upper level low that was sitting over the eastern Great Lakes, we did see a few lake effect snow bands. Like, look at this one right here. This one at times put 3 to 4 inches of snow down in parts of northern Indiana, and also we had much heavier snow here coming off of Lake Superior in the UP. But just interesting to see here in October such a strong lake effect snow band coming off of Lake Michigan. Now, let's go see where everything's going quickly here with the high-res NAM model. Main feature for the near term, next couple of days, is where this upper level low is going. So starting off at 9 a.m. today, playing through this afternoon and this evening, don't be surprised to see some snowflakes flying again from Indiana through parts of Ohio into Pennsylvania, maybe West Virginia, and of course on the back side of this here. But that upper level low, I'll be glad to see it exit. And it appears that by Wednesday night, getting out here to Thursday morning, it's finally pulling out of Ontario into Quebec, and it's going to be leaving. And that's going to mark the first significant shift overall as warmer air starts to spread on Thursday out of the west into the plains and farther to the east. Now, that shift is happening because this deep trough and the ridge that's been stuck over the west are finally moving. So through the middle of this week, there's Wednesday, getting into Thursday. The pattern shift really begins on Friday right here. So from Friday into Saturday and Sunday, this is the first of multiple troughs that are becoming around this overall deeper trough pattern that'll stay in the Gulf of Alaska and along the western United States. Just a quick note here, the upper level cutoff low that was coming off of Florida we talked about yesterday appears to be staying farther offshore. That reduces the rainfall that could be seen in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. Just something to think about. But as I go through next Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, multiple shortwave troughs are coming around the base of this broader trough feature through next week, and that's the real significance of the pattern change we're seeing. The dry air that's right now just funneling from the Canadian Prairie, the eastern Canadian Prairie, through the Midwestern United States down to the Gulf Coast, well, that very dry air, looking at a dew point animation, is replaced by the time we get into Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and the Gulf opens wide up as the deeper trough comes in. And my concern is, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and even Wednesday, that we could have multiple chances for strong to severe storms in this corridor. It's impossible to narrow it down right now because we don't yet know the timing of the fronts. But with this much moisture and such strong forcing along these really fast-moving cold fronts, I'm concerned about two things: strong wind damage possible from the storm systems and synoptic scale winds in this area that could be 30 to 40 miles an hour outside of those storms. But the Gulf opens and the atmosphere is going to tap into that and possibly produce, maybe next Monday night, that might be the first significant outbreak. Could be right along this area for some stronger to severe storms. I want to be careful with that phrasing of outbreak here. But we're going to see multiple shots of it. You can see here again on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll keep a very close eye in the plains and in the Mid-South for this. To see that unfold, let's go to the European model. We've already seen the upper level low exit through Ontario and Quebec, and then we're drier for much of the country until Friday when the first system comes in. Now, it's again too early to tell you what to expect in terms of snow. So I echo what the National Weather Service is saying. Like, we know snow is coming to the mountains for the Cascades and the Rockies, but it's just a bit too early to determine the amount. And the first low ejects Sunday night into Monday morning. There'll be a very strong front here, and see how tightly spaced these isobars are? That indicates the strong winds. They're definitely going to be coming out of the south, though, ahead of this. So system number 1 curls up right there. See that coming out of the Dakotas going toward Ontario? We'll watch this line on Monday night. And then system number 2 had already made it in on Sunday into Monday, and it dives down and is ejecting at some point midweek next week. The tricky part is, and there's major model discrepancy here, is that the European model has a separate shortwave that comes out here into parts of the Mid-South, the lower Mississippi River Valley. The GFS has this more linked up with the broader trough that comes sweeping through, heading toward Canada. So that's why there's a difference in the models here. But if we just play out this next week, watch this, through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we still have wide open harvest windows for major ag areas in the country here. When do they start to close down? Well, the Northwest gets the first shot Friday into Saturday. This is now taking us out there through Sunday night and then Monday. That's when we start to see things tighten up here. Now, multiple waves are coming through. So see the second one coming out of Texas through the Mid-South? That would be the one Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. But we could see some brief heavy rain, strong winds, both synoptic scale and with the thunderstorms. And it's going to set us up for what could be a pretty active week. As I said, I don't have any really concrete information on how much snow, but this is at least the probability of getting 6 inches of snow at some point over the next 10 days. So very high in the mountains here in parts of the West. But you distill it down, week 1 versus week 2. Much more active pattern as we start next week, beginning on Sunday going forward. All right. The other part of this is the temperatures. This morning at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, we were seeing temperatures. Take a look at this. Fargo 10, Mitchell 12, teens here hitting western Iowa. Some very cold air coming in behind this. And we know that that cold air by Wednesday morning will likely reach its farthest extent to the south. And then we're going to continue to have the frost risk in parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas, and again down here in the south on Thursday morning. But that is when the moderation begins for the plains, and it moves east. And the overnight lows by the time we get to Monday, full of all that moist air, are going to be quite high. The high temperatures look like this today. By Wednesday, Thursday, look, 70s, 80s return to the plains. Friday, this is when the first shot at cold air starts to come into the northwest while the midsection of the country stays quite warm. The colder air finally exits east by Saturday. And you can see the pattern flip right there, just as clear as day, as that deeper trough comes in and the ridges build off to the east. Just watching the 5-day sliding window of these temperatures, you can see that this new pattern change seems to stick around for a while. So all the way now into the first few days of the month of November, we continue to see something flowing, some sort of flow like this, with a southeast ridge sitting in this particular area. All right. In the report today, we do provide the newest maps on the month-to-date temperature and precipitation anomalies and kind of give some narrative behind that. Also, take a look at the graphics and quick description of what we're expecting for the November precipitation pattern mainly. Expect November temperatures to be very volatile and not just sit in a pattern like this. And finally, we talk a bit now about South America. And what I'm watching is, we've been talking about the drought in Argentina. Watch this. As we play forward through this week, there are some chances for some scattered storms late this week. But what I'm really watching is right here, next Wednesday, Thursday. There seems to be a front that could possibly deliver some rains, decent rains in this area. It's way out there in the forecast, day 8 and 9. So we don't yet know if this front will be able to do it. And there's kind of that saying, right? All signs fail in the time of drought. So this is just a new development in the model, something I'll be watching because it could bring rain to a very important part of Argentina's agriculturally productive areas, something that they desperately need. And I included this in last night's in-depth video, and I got a lot of questions and comments about it. So I just want to show you the latest bit on Australia. There are multiple waves coming out of the Indian Ocean, bringing moisture like this, linked up with the timing of several fronts that are going to go through parts of Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria and come out of South Australia, which is here. And what we get is that over the next 10 days, the likelihood of picking up anywhere between 100 and maybe 200 millimeters of rainfall, so that is 4 to 8 inches of rain, is very high in some of Australia's most productive regions agriculturally. So we need to watch out for this major flooding threat here. But we'll wrap it up there. I'll give you another report tomorrow. Have a good one. Thanks.